Hare Krishna, dear devotees, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Reading Yoginī Ekādaśī from the Brahmā-vaivarta Purāṇa. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Yoginī Ekādaśī. Yudhishthir Maharaj said, O Supreme Lord, I have heard the glories of the Nirjala Ekādaśī, which occurs during the light fortnight of the month of Jyeshtha. Now I wish to hear from you about the Ekādaśī that occurs during the dark fortnight of the month of Ashadha, June, July. Kindly describe to me all about it in detail, O killer of the Madhu demon. The Supreme Lord Sri Krishna then replied, O King, I shall indeed tell you about the best of all fasting days, the Ekādaśī that comes during the dark part of the month of Ashadha. Famous as Yoginī Ekādaśī, it removes all kinds of sinful reactions and awards supreme liberation. O best of kings, this Ekādaśī delivers people who are drowning in the vast ocean of material existence and transports them to the shore of the spiritual world. In all three worlds, it is the chief of all sacred fasting days. I shall now reveal this truth to you by narrating a history recounted in the Purāṇas. The king of Alakapuri, Kuvera, the treasurer of the demigods, was a steadfast devotee of Lord Shiva. He employed a servant named Hemamālī as his personal gardener. Hemamālī, a Yakṣa like Kuvera, was very lustfully attracted to his gorgeous wife, Svarupavati, who had large, enchanting eyes. Hemamālī's daily duty was to visit Manasarovara lake and bring back flowers for his master, Kuvera, with which he would use them in the puja offerings to Lord Shiva. One day, after picking the flowers, Hemamālī went to his wife instead of returning directly to his master and fulfilling his duty by bringing the flowers for the puja. Absorbed in loving affairs of a bodily nature with his wife, he forgot to return to the abode of Kuvera. O king, while Hemamālī was enjoying with his wife, Kuvera had begun the worship of Lord Shiva as normal in his palace, and soon discovered that there were no flowers ready to be offered in the midday puja. The lack of such an important item angered the great demigod even more, and he asked a Yakṣa messenger, Why has dirty-hearted Hemamālī not come with the daily offering of flowers? Go find out the exact reason and report back to me in person with your findings. The Yakṣa returned and told Kuvera, O dear Lord, Hemamālī is freely enjoying sex with his wife. So here we have Kuvera, the treasurer of the demigod, who is incredibly rich. As we can see here, Kuvera is a great devotee of Lord Shiva. Generally, those who are after material things, they worship Lord Shiva because Lord Shiva is called, there's a name that means that he's very easily pleased. Therefore, we see also in India, devotees of Lord Shiva are generally very rich. This was also discussed in the Śrīmad Bhagavatam, also with King Yudhishthira, who had spoken to Krishna and asked, why is it that your devotees are poor, but that Lord Shiva's devotees are rich, whereas you are Vaikuntanath, the Lord of Vaikuntha, who has all opulence, are so rich, and Lord Shiva is very poor. He lives, near crematoriums, he covers his body with ashes, and he's very austere. So it seems to be the opposite, So the whole episode when Lord Krishna fought with Lord Shiva, and Lord Krishna's Narayanashvara weapon fought against the Shivajvara weapon, the weapon of Lord Shiva. So in that chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam is one of the last chapter of Canto 10. It is very well narrated, and it's very instructive to read, to understand the sufferings of a devotee, why devotees are put into suffering. So here we can see that the Yakṣa are a race that are very lusty. Yakṣa and Rakshasas are two demonic races. And demonic races means in the mode of passion and ignorance. So here, this servant of Kuvera was too much lustfully agitated and forgot his duty to bring back flowers for the worship. So let us see how Kuvera reacts. Kuvera became extremely angry when he heard this, and at once summoned lowly Hemamālī before him. Knowing that he had been remiss and dawdling in his duty and exposed as meditating on his wife's body, Hemamālī approached his matter in great fear. The gardener first paid his obeisances and then stood before his lord, whose eyes had become red with anger and whose lips trembled in rage. So enraged, Kuvera cried out to Hemamālī, "O you sinful rascal! O destroyer of religious principles! You are walking offense to the Devas. I therefore curse you to suffer from white leprosy and to become separated from your beloved wife. Only great suffering is deservedly yours. O low-born fool, leave this place immediately and betake yourself to the lower planets to suffer." Here is a curse from one of the great controller of our universe, Kuvera. So it is not to be taken lightly. We can see also that such demigods are easily angered. So now Hemamālī, his servant, has been cursed to take birth basically in the lower planets and suffer from leprosy and be separated from his wife. And so Hemamālī fell at once from grace in Alakapuri and became ill with terrible affliction of white leprosy. He awoke in a dense and fearful forest where there was nothing to eat or drink. So he does not seem to have been taking birth from the womb of a woman, but simply to have fallen from the heavenly kingdom. So where there was nothing to eat and drink, in a dense and fearful forest that he awoke. Thus he passed his days in misery, unable to sleep at night due to pain. He suffered in both winter and summer season. But because he continued to worship Lord Shiva himself with faith, his consciousness remained purely fixed and steady. Although implicated by great sin and its attendant reactions, he remembered his past life because of his piety. After wandering for some time here and there, over mountains and across plains, Hemamālī eventually came upon the vast Himalayan mountain ranges. There he had the wonderful good fortune to come upon the great sage Mārkaṇḍeya Ṛṣi, the best of ascetics, whose duration of life it is said extends to 7 of the days of Brahmā. Mārkaṇḍeya Ṛṣi was seated peacefully at his ashrama, looking as effulgent as a second Brahmā. Hemamālī, feeling very sinful, stood at a distance from the magnificent sage and offered his humble obeisances and choice prayers. Always interested in the welfare of others, Mārkaṇḍeya Ṛṣi saw the leper and called him near. "O you, what sort of sinful deeds have you done to earn this dreadful affliction?" Hearing this, Hemamālī replied, "Dear sir, I am a Yakṣa servant of Lord Kuvera, and my name is Hemamālī. It was my daily service to pick the flowers from the Manasarovara lake for my master's worship of Lord Shiva. But one day I was negligent and I was late in returning with the offering because I had become overwhelmed with lusty passion for enjoying bodily pleasures with my wife. When my master discovered why I was late, he cursed me in great anger. Thus I am now bereft of my home, my wife, and my service. But fortunately, I have come upon you, and now I hope to receive from you an auspicious benediction. For I know that devotees such as you are as merciful as the Supreme Lord, and always carry the interest of others uppermost in their hearts. That is their nature. O best of sages, please help me. So when one meets the pure devotee of the Lord, it is to be understood that he has received the Lord's mercy. Because the Lord wants to purify the entire material world with the lotus feet of his pure devotees. And now you can see my son who has appeared behind. Haribol? Where is he, Mama? Haribol? Excuse me. So, again, he says, O best of sages, please help me. Soft-hearted Mārkaṇḍeya Ṛṣi replied, because you have told me the truth, I shall tell you about a fast day that will benefit you greatly. If you fast on the Ekādaśī that comes during the dark fortnight of the month of Ashadha, you will surely be freed of this terrible curse. Upon hearing these blessed words from the renowned sage, Hemamālī fell to the ground in complete gratitude and offered him his humble obeisances again and again. But Mārkaṇḍeya Ṛṣi stood there and lifted Hemamālī up, filling him with inexpressible happiness. Thus, as the sage had instructed him, Hemamālī dutifully observed the Ekādaśī fast, and by its influence he again became a handsome Yakṣa. Then he returned home, where he lived very happily with his wife. Lord Sri Krishna concluded, so you can readily see, O Yudhishthira, that fasting on Yoginī Ekādaśī is very powerful and auspicious. Whatever merit one obtains by feeding 88,000 pious brahmanas is also obtained simply by observing a strict fast on Yoginī Ekādaśī. For one who fasts on the sacred Ekādaśī, she destroys heaps of past sinful reactions and makes him most pious. O king, thus I have explained to you the purity of Yoginī Ekādaśī. Thus ends the Vrajavasi narration of the glories of Ashadha Krishna Ekādaśī or Yoginī Ekādaśī from the Brahmā-vaivarta Purāṇa. So it is a very nice story, like all the Ekādaśī stories, which were narrated by Lord Krishna to Yudhishthira. So we can see there are many things to learn from this story. One is that serving a materialistic man is never in one's interest. Yakṣa, although a devotee, Lord Kuvera, although he's a devotee, because no demigod can attain this position without being a devotee. The Lord doesn't appoint demons or atheists as the controller of universal affairs. But still, he has material desire. He's not a pure devotee because he has this desire to be wealthy and powerful controller of the Yakṣa and Rakshasas. But still, he is empowered by the Lord, in his own realm of activities. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says that amongst the Raksha and Rakshasa, I am the Lord of wealth, Kuvera. So he is an empowered incarnation of the Lord, deputed with certain managerial universal affairs. But he is engaged in many materialistic activities, and therefore he worships Lord Shiva. One who has no material desire doesn't need to worship any other demigods but Lord Vishnu or Krishna. And we can see that serving one who is materially attached can bring one into great suffering. Kuvera was not performing devotional service to Lord Shiva, because devotional service or bhakti can only be done to Vishnu. This word, devotional service or bhakti, can only be applied to Lord Vishnu or Krishna or any of the incarnations. When one worships a demigod, he does so for material desires. That means he does so out of lust. And if the lust is checked, then anger arises. So it is not actually his devotion to Lord Shiva that made him angry, but his check into fulfilling his lustful desire. There was no need to curse his servants so heavily. We can see that Prabhupada, his disciples have made many mistakes, but Prabhupada was always very much encouraging, and he never chastised. Definitely not as heavy as this, as to become a leper and to wander without one's wife. What kind of master is this? So serving materialistic men will definitely get us into great tribulations. The other side of the story is that sins can be eradicated when we come in contact with the pure devotee. Just like it happened by the association of the great Mārkaṇḍeya Ṛṣi. He got delivered from his sinful reactions. However, that was not an actual true blessing, because what happened to him is simply he got reinstated to his Yakṣa form and again enjoying sense gratification with his wife. So we can see that Mārkaṇḍeya did not bestow his full mercy upon that Yakṣa. Full mercy means devotional service to Lord Vishnu or Krishna. That is real mercy, and that is what the pure devotee does not give very freely. Because Krishna is the property of the pure devotee. Bhaktivinoda Thakur sings, Krishna se tomara, Krishna dite pavo. So Krishna is yours, you can give him to me. But in order to please a pure devotee so much that he will give us Krishna, that is not a cheap thing. It's not simply by bowing down with an attitude of wanting to be freed from sinful reactions in order to enjoy material life, like was done by Hemamālī. But still, this story is there to show us the great power of this Ekādaśī to remove sins. And that's what we should do. We should follow strictly this Ekādaśī so that we can remove our sinful reactions and advance in piety so that we can be engaged in the Lord's service. Everything should be dovetailed with that aim that we should be getting more and more engagement in the Lord's service, because that is our eternal nature. That is our eternal activity as eternal servant of the Lord. So that is the whole point of following Ekādaśī. So we hope that you have liked. We apologize if you're watching on this Ekādaśī day. We are uploading very late. I actually forgot to record this Ekādaśī story, so I'm doing it late, and I will be uploading just now. So thank you very much. We hope you have appreciated. Hare Krishna. Jai Shri Prabhupada.